the architecture of a team, and potentially why there is no bad hires. We're going to talk more about business today in the fibers of life and business. I'm your host, Joe Watkins. Thanks for joining us today. And so let's get started. Why do I say potentially there are no wrong hires when you're in your business? Well, what I mean by that is at any stage in your business, you may need building blocks. Think of a brick as you lay bricks on a wall. That lower brick's important in order to get to the higher brick. And sometimes the skill, let's just say, needed to do a brick in this part of your business versus a brick ladder in your business or a different phase of your business is a different type of brick. It's a different component. It's a different employee. So don't beat yourself up about who's in your business right now, especially if your business is growing momentum, right? So every part of this business and the impact that these people are making really oftentimes are very vital to your success. You may want the, say, $200,000 person, but at the time you only could afford $75,000, and that $75,000 got you to a place to hire the $200,000 person for that role you're looking for. So that's critical. And I was having that discussion recently with a founder, and that's one of my most important discussions I have really with any business owner is the people part of the business. I'll talk a lot about that in the fibers of life and business because it's just really important to me. I learned a lot about that in Chick-fil-A as the previous episode discussed. But today, those building blocks are so important. And so we're going to go into what needs to happen during the phase of growing when it comes to your people. One of the things I think about is, yes, we should always be evaluating where we currently are. Let's always be looking at all of our people, how they contribute, what their skill sets are. Is there a potential that a reevaluation of their current role is important? Should we even think about a different title for them? Let me back up even more as something that's really important. Do our people even know what their value is or what their role is or how their role contributes to the greater vision? Do you even have a vision that's clearly identified where everybody that's moving towards this path are all on the same path and understand where they're going and therefore don't question a whole lot when you make changes to the people structure? The best thing I found in my experience is if people aren't on the right seat in the bus, or maybe they're not even on the right bus, meaning they're not in the right company, they shouldn't be working for you. If you clearly state where you're going, why you're going, and what is required to stay on my bus, to stay in my company bus, to get where we're going, what I found is people that don't see themselves on that bus will phase themselves out, right? They'll take themselves out of the game, and that's the best way to move forward. Now, that doesn't mean we don't need to trim people. In order sometimes to make way for new talent, new folks to come in, to reinvest, to give us a jolt, we got to trim. And one of the most common fallacies of a business owner is to not trim the fat. And I hate to call it the fat. It really is trimming maybe unproductivity or lack of chemistry, or they don't buy into the vision, or they have personal problems that you've tried to work on, and they're actually bringing those into your business daily. These kind of things need to be trimmed, and I'm all about doing that. And we've got to get real focused on that. So a constant evaluation of your people is just absolutely critical. And I would say that the difference between let's just say this: the difference between growth and chaos is your ability as a founder, as an owner, as a business leader to very clearly articulate what you are looking for out of your people and where you want them to point, and then how what they're doing ties back to your greater plan. So that's just a huge point to make. And we call that, in other words, what is your vision? What are your values? what's the blueprint of your future, and therefore help them understand what the blueprint of their future is. There's nothing worse than I'm an employee in a company and I'm floundering because I don't know where I'm at and where I'm going. So don't make that mistake, guys. And I tell you what, when I think about, what it is that, how this ties back to really this podcast and the fibers in general, I think about the fibers is all about how all the business components work together. And I haven't talked about specifically what are the fibers of business. I have in post talked about the fibers of life. Let's go ahead and talk about both of them. The fibers of life that I've been talking about up to this point, and fibers is an acronym, is financial, intellectual, biological, emotional, relational, and spiritual. Now, this applies, when I say the fibers of life, this applies to an individual and how they are going to successfully operate by understanding the dynamics of those fibers and how they work with each other. Well, the fibers of business, very much like the fibers of life, have a similar tie-in to each other. And that acronym is this. It's finances, it's innovation, it's beliefs, it's experiences, it's relationships, and it's stories. Now, we'll go into a lot more details of what that actually means. But the interesting thing is when you are weak in an area or really strong in an area, it has an impact on all other areas. All right. So when I think about relationships, when I think about experiences, your people really cross almost all of the fibers of business, but your people are really integrated into the experience and the relationships of your business. And so by properly understanding the investments that need to be made in them, by giving them a clear view, by understanding that they are feeling a need at this time in the business, and they may feel a different need in a future part of the business. And listen, one of the best things you can do for any of your people that are stuck, that have no future, is tell them that. I can think of at least 3 occasions where I sat down key people in my several companies over the years and said, I know this is what you want to do at this company in the future, but you're not cut out for this. This is not your gift. But then you do the doo-doo squeeze with them, right? Then I say, but here's what your gift really is. Your gift is so much more into process than it is into leading people. And by us understanding this about you, the potential for you in this area is so much greater in our business. Or if I don't have that availability, listen, we're shortchanging you and your skill sets by even keeping you here. And I want to help you find a better fit for your future. So trimming people is not being just upset and firing them and it all being bad. I mean, I watched a guy I worked for years and years ago. He was just incredible at letting people go. And then they walked out sort of smiling or crying in a good way. And I thought, well, what is he doing? Well, come to find out, what he was doing was he was just letting his people know that he cared enough for them that when the fit wasn't for them, they needed to go on, because sometimes the trim in their personal life, the trim of that job, allows them to regroup and move forward towards a new future. And it's your responsibility as a leader to help them with that as well as that same vital thing in your business. So I would just say, people are building blocks, but they are people. So help them progress for what's best for them. And then also at the same time, do what's right for your business. Always constantly be evaluating the building blocks that is people in your business. Now, the mirror effect is one of my favorite techniques. This is where not only do we try to do our very best to look in the mirror and how we contribute to where we are, but we allow other people in our businesses to do the same thing. They become the mirror for our business. So before any drastic decisions are made, you should always, always get feedback from your people about where they are, about what the problems are in their role, what culture problems have prevented them from progressing forward, what are the barriers of their success. So as a great builder of a business or a founder or a leader that's trying to take this thing to the next place, you got to keep the dialogue open with your people and understand, where are they at? Why is it that this is not working? And then maybe go somewhere else and say, well, why is it that this is working? And actually let them speak. Actually let them get their thoughts out. Do not interrupt them. Do not cross over the words they're trying to tell you. They may be giving you the gold that you needed desperately more than anything else. And here you are cutting them off at the pass. So as founders, as leaders, as business owners, as managers, realize, that as we used to say, that gold comes from the mouths of babes, or truths come from the mouths of babes. I think what we were saying was, as kids, they actually just tell the truth because they're unfiltered and they don't have the ability almost to filter themselves. Create an environment where you are not filtering your people, right? You're not filtering their ability to express with you how they actually feel about what's going on. You'll be a much better founder and a much better leader. So that's why I would say there's no wrong hires. Every hire teaches you one more thing about you, one more thing about them, one more thing about your business, and one more building block, or 10 maybe actually got built in that foundation of growth. And I just never wanted to be negative about a hire. I feel like every hire I've ever made has taught me something, has grown the company in some form or fashion. Sometimes learning what not to do is how you learn what to do. I mean, think about how our brain works, right? If we touch our finger on the hot pan, we kind of learn not to do it again. So when we hit the edges and the boundaries of things, it actually gives us a little bit better meter about where the boundaries should be. When I ride my motorcycle at fast speeds, listen, whenever I hit the edge of the road is where I really understand and begin to understand where the middle of the road, or where the right part of the road that I could be riding on at higher speeds really is. So make the mistakes, or what you think are mistakes. Go make the hire for growth. Give the feedback. Listen to your people. There is no bad hire. So that's my thought. That's the podcast for the day. Subscribe for more videos like this. And thanks for listening to the Fibers of Life and Business. I'm Joe Watkins, your host.